Hi, everyone. So, Sam here with 7E Wellness, and this week I am going to be emulating the amazing Trina Albus, and I'm going to be recreating her protocol for jowls. And specifically, I'm going to be using our conductive gloves. So, I'm going to get set up with that, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you how we can use those conductive gloves to treat the jawline and to give a nice little lift. So first, I'm going to take a serum. So I have my anti-aging peptide serum here. I'm going to prep the skin with that. So really nice light serum. This is a copper peptide serum. So as we do our microcurrent, that copper peptide gets pushed into the skin, and it's going to help to drive collagen production. So copper peptides are a really nice and gentle way that you can repair the skin and you can rebuild some damaged collagen from the inside out. So anytime you're doing a microcurrent treatment, it's really nice to start out with a water-based serum like I just did, just because you're going to get that additional penetration of product. So it's going to be extra effective and extra good for your skin. And then I'm going to take my infused conductive solution. So I have that here and mist that on the skin. So I like to do this just to make sure I get good conductivity as I'm doing my treatment. The infused conductive solution, it has minerals. So it has copper, zinc, and magnesium. And all of those things are going to help to make sure that microcurrent is penetrating into the skin. So you'll see I'm putting on some nitrile gloves, and then I'm going to put my conductive gloves on top. That's going to help block the current so that it's not going into my hands. Instead, the current is going to go directly into the skin where I want it to be. So I have my gloves, which I've already wet. So these are dampened with water. And I'll put those right over top. Now, I'm going to be using the MyoLift Mini today, so I have that right here. It's just turned off right now. I'll turn it on in a second. But first, I just want to show you, I have the lead wire plugged in, and then it goes into the little snaps that attach to the gloves. So I'm going to snap those on now. Beautiful. So that's our setup. The gloves are a really good way for you to do a microcurrent treatment because you don't have to have any product on the skin. The serum that I put on earlier, the anti-aging peptide, that's optional. So if you want to just do this on clean, naked skin, you totally can. So now let's jump in. I'm going to grab my Mini, just turned her on. I'm going to start on level 1 on erase. So I'm just going to bring that up in case you want to see what my settings are. Okay, perfect. So before I jump in, I just want to make sure this stream is going properly. Okay, beautiful. So I am seeing a few people. Hello, everyone. Wonderful. Alrighty, so let's jump in. I am going to start on Educate Level 1, and I'm going to start by working on areas, just quick once over to kind of smooth out any wrinkles that are forming. So you might see in this light, I have a line that's starting right here, right in that 11 area. So I'm going to go in with my fingertips, and I'm going to start opening that up. Now, if you're following along, if you started on level 1 and you find that you tolerate this just fine, it's comfortable for you, I'm actually going to go up to level 2. This is an area of concern for me, and I work this part of my skin pretty often with microcurrent. So I'm just going to go in there and really smooth that out. So one of the reasons that we love the gloves is because they let you use your fingertips like this. It's super intuitive. If holding the probes feels kind of intimidating for you, this is a great way for you to do it in a way that might be a little more natural for you. A lot of our luxury spas also love the gloves. So if you get a high-end facial with one of our professional devices, you may see these guys make an appearance. Um, the reason the spas love this is not only the versatility of being able to create all sorts of different shapes with your hands. Like I can use one finger and I can focus in, or I can use all four fingers here and I can open that entire space and get a much larger area of coverage. Not only that, it also feels really nice. So this is like a face massage, and then at the same time, you're doing your microcurrent. So I try to do this movement pretty often on myself. There you can see where that beginning of a line is. It's like the bane of my existence. If you have horizontal lines on your forehead, you can also go up and down like this. This helps to treat that formation of lines that comes from kind of raising your brows and gesturing. This large flat muscle called the frontalis, it's like a piece of paper and it likes to get folded up. So we're going in and we're kind of smoothing it back out the same way you would folds in that piece of paper that I mentioned in my little analogy. So I'm going to move on. This is not really our focus for today. So I'm just going to go through quickly. For the sides of the eyes, you can also work directly on crow's feet, which is really nice. So you can see I'm just following in there and I'm opening up that entire part of the eye. And you can even see I did one side and not the other. When we get really tight in the outer part of the eye, that eyebrow gets pulled down, that eye gets pulled closed. I feel like you can really see that. And I'll be honest, I have been super tense recently. So, ooh, that's crazy. Let me do a little more before I go to the other side. Isn't that fun to see? We don't even realize how tight we are and the areas that we carry tension until you start like kind of digging in there and maybe you release a little bit of it. And then, oh my God, the feeling is profound. Like sometimes you might think to yourself, I didn't even know that was so tight or that I had discomfort there. So even without any lifting, I'm just smoothing and using erase. That eyebrow is up and that eye is more open. So I'm going to go in now and make myself symmetrical again. And that's something that I'm always checking when I do a microcurrent treatment. I'm always watching for my symmetry. I think that's proof of concept. It proves that the device is doing something, that you have to kind of think about stuff like that. So we're all asymmetrical beings naturally. One brow is always going to be a little higher than the other, one corner of the mouth or one cheek. Okay, now we're looking a little better. I'm feeling more even. So you can also go back here into the temple if, like me, you're super tight. So I'm just going to go back to this side and do that. Ooh, I didn't even realize how much I needed this. I use these devices a lot, but I'll be honest, I've been traveling because we've been doing some trade shows. I've been busting my butt, not sleeping like I should, not eating like I should. And I have gone maybe a week or two without doing my skin. And as you can see, it was much needed. So the last thing I'm going to do while we're on the erase setting is I'm going to go in and work around the mouth. So we can go along the lip line here. And the same way that tension made that eye area look smaller and more sunken and brought down that brow, tension is going to mess up our lip area. It's going to shrink the lip and purse it. And so doing something like this to release tension along your lip line is going to be really helpful for you to plump the lips. So if you're somebody who's always looking for a nice natural way to get a little bit of a bigger or fuller lip, try microcurrent. Not only are you getting a plumping effect from that smoothing of the muscle that I'm talking about, microcurrent is also increasing circulation. So a lot of lip plumpers do that too, except they use an irritant like cayenne pepper or mint or something like that. We don't like to put irritants on our skin, especially if you're doing that on a regular basis. So something like this is going to be much more sustainable for your skin long term, as opposed to using irritation to get that blood flow. Microcurrent is also going to give you enhanced collagen production. So after you do these treatments, if you keep up with them, you're making more collagen in an area like the lips, and so then they will get a little bigger from that. Of course, it's not going to replace, more dramatic treatments, but if you're looking for a little daily plump, this will do it. I'm a huge fan of microcurrent right before events. Um, I used to work as a makeup artist, and it's a great way to plump up the lips, for example, or just kind of get things right before the makeup goes on. So the last thing I'm going to do with erase around the mouth is I'm going to just open up the chin here. So some of us get a fold where the chin kind of folds upwards, or maybe your chin has like a lumpy or an uneven appearance. That happens because this muscle here, the mentalis, it gets really tight and uneven, or it can bunch up. So we're actually going to go now. I'm going to hold my lower lip, and then I'm going to pull downwards to kind of open that. So if you get a line there, it's called a mental crease. This is very frustrating for people who wear makeup because it can accumulate that foundation in there. Some people are also self-conscious about, the unevenness of that muscle. If maybe they want their chin to look smoother, that's a nice way to smooth this area out. Okay, so let's get to the fun part. Now I'm going to switch to our lifting. I'm going to use educate, and I'm going to do this on level 2. If level 2 is uncomfortable for you, then you can always drop down and you could do level 1. So if you want to take a look, here are my settings. I'm going to jump back in and take a little more of my spray and just re-wet my skin. And let's get into it. So we're going to focus now on the jowls. If you're a fan of Trina, who is really incredible, if you're not, you should check her out, Trina Albis. She's a good friend of 70 Wellness. She's worked with us a lot. We're going to focus on jowls. So I can go this way, and I'm lifting the neck, and I can hold that there. Basically, if you think of this muscle that covers the whole neck, the platysma, it's shaped like a turtleneck, and it wraps around the jaw on this upper edge. So I'm going to use that to my advantage and kind of cinch it over to pull my neck in, and then I'm going to hold. So the gloves make that really easy to grab that tissue. You can use all of your fingertips and really get in there, and you can get a nice lift. And I'm going to hold that for 5 seconds. I'm going to repeat that at least 3 times. If it's an area of concern for you, you can do it 5 times. So I'll do that today, since we are talking really about the jawline and the jowls. The neck is definitely a part of that. So I'm using a light pressure. I'm not like really digging deep into the tissue, just enough for me to really grab that skin and muscle and give it a little bit of a lift, and then hold it there. So you can tighten the neck by pulling it outwards like this. You can also work upwards. So I'm going to place one hand, and then I'm going to bring this up. So it's a nice way to create some vertical lift here. And the gloves are cool for this because I can use that whole side of my hand, and I can pick up that whole part of the neck. Now, the one spot I'm not going to touch is right here in the center where the thyroid is. We don't like to work directly on top of the thyroid just because we don't want to overly stimulate it. So I'm going to mostly focus on the 2 sides of the neck, and we'll create our lift that way. So the hands are not touching. I just have one, and then I'm bringing the other up to hold. If it's more comfortable for you, you can also do this with your fingertips. Whatever works for you. The gloves are really versatile like that, which is cool. Now, if you want to focus directly in that jowl area, you can plant a couple of fingers. You can grab that underhang or that jowl, and you can lift that right up. So it's almost like a half moon shape where I'm picking it up and bringing it over here. Love, love, love doing this one because it helps with that double chin, helps to sort of tighten that up. Um, I definitely put on a little bit of weight for hibernation and for the winter. And so this helps me to get a little more of a sculpted look. If you're someone who deals with puffiness, microcurrent is also super helpful for that. So people tend to retain a lot of fluid under the jawline. Doing these microcurrent treatments is really helpful for clearing that fluid out. So now I'm going to go directly along my jawline. I like to use a finger of each hand and then kind of lift that whole jawline area upwards and hold it. So, for those of you who are estheticians, if you're a spa owner, the gloves are a really good option because there's no gel required. The skin can be pretty much bare while you're doing these treatments. So there's very little overhead. This is a device that is just going to make you money, especially if you have a few pairs of these gloves. You have your infused conductive solution. You don't really need anything else. So it makes it super easy to reproduce these treatments. This is something that you can offer just about everybody. Um, Microcurrent is super safe. These devices are FDA cleared. So you don't have to worry about them not working or having issues like that or being dangerous because we have that FDA clearance to prove it. So now I'm just doing a little more lifting along the jawline with these microcurrent gloves. I'm using the MyoLift microcurrent gloves with my mini, and we're using our educate function to tighten up the muscles, creating some lift around the jawline. This is kind of in honor of Trina Albus, an influencer. Look into her if you don't know her because her tutorials are great. Um, she created this bundle with us because she is focused on jowls for the year and using all different kinds of beauty devices to lift her jowl area, including our MyoLift Mini. So the jowl kit is available on our website. It includes these gloves that are thrown in as a free gift, and it also includes 2 of our jowl masks. So the jowl masks are a nice hands-free way that you can continue to work on that area and you can create some more lift. So now what I can do, and you saw I did one already, I'm kind of holding up here by the lip, grabbing this whole under chin area and scoop upwards. Beautiful. So the microcurrent is helping to lift and tighten. Basically, I'm lifting that part of the face to a higher position, and then I'm saying, stay there. We're training the muscle, we're creating strength, and that strength of the muscle is going to give you that long-term lift and that tightening effect that I think a lot of people are going for. This is a really good alternative for somebody who doesn't want to do really aggressive treatments. If, for example, you are scared of needles like I am, and you faint every time you have to do a blood test, this is a good alternative to doing more invasive treatments like injectables or threads. So now what I can do, the same way I did the jawline here, I can walk my way across and I can just lift that cheekbone. So this is a really nice way you can kind of get this huge area of the face, pick that right up. So you can create some lovely definition there. So this treatment with the gloves, if you're going to do this at home, this is something that I would do. I would try to do it once a week. If you can do this once a week, then even better. If a couple more times during the week, you can do a less simpler treatment. So maybe you go in with the mask, maybe you use the QT, and you do like a shorter treatment, or you go in with the gloves and you just like touch up a few areas so that it's not taking quite as long. Um, Microcurrent is very much like taking your face to the gym. And so the more that you train these muscles, you're going to get more memory and you're going to get more results out of them. So, if you look here, I think you can see this is a little more activated. I'm just going to keep working there for another minute. And if you're curious about these movements, we also have some detailed tutorial videos where we talk you through every single step. So if you're watching me now and you're feeling like, how could I possibly learn this? Or you missed a step, you don't have to worry about that when you're following along with our tutorial videos. The purpose of this live we're doing is really just to show off the device. If you were watching earlier and you saw what happened when I was using erase around the eye, that was really exciting to see. I'm also really enjoying the activation here that I'm getting, a little bit of lift in that cheek and a little bit of a lift in the corner of the mouth. Sometimes if a muscle is really tight, you can do a little wiggle in there to help release it. So I'm working under the cheek here. These muscles tend to get very tight from talking and chewing. We have some pressure points that run along here. So you can really take advantage of having your fingertips and you can activate those pressure points, which feels really good. That also is one of the reasons that you'll see me in certain places kind of wiggling my fingertips. You'll also see that I'll do that around the eyebrow because there are lots of really nice pressure points there too. Okay, beautiful. So the other thing that we can do is we can use the face muscles. So there's two muscles that run diagonally like this. This one is called the risorius. This one is called the zygomaticus, and there's two parts of it that run up like this. So if we activate those muscles, we can create a lift in the whole face. So I'm going to start down here with the risorius, and we're going to bring that over. And do you see how by activating this muscle, I get to hold all this tissue here and create that lift? Something like this is absolutely beautiful to create that lift in the face. So I'm going to do that a couple more times so that we can really focus in. And you may see a little bit of pinkness or redness on the skin as you're doing your microcurrent treatments. That's totally normal because you're bringing up new blood circulation into the skin. This is a good thing. Um, Blood circulation in a controlled way like this is going to bring nutrients and oxygen to the cells, which helps the cells to do all the things that we like keep out infection, retain moisture, build collagen. Microcurrent has been studied in medical settings, it's used in hospitals. This is a modality that repairs the skin. So, other things that you might hear about on the market, different kinds of exfoliating treatments, or different ways that you can like puncture or create like wounds on the skin. This is not like that. This is not damaging the skin in any way. It is only giving energy to it. So there's no damage to the cells. If you're doing this right, the health of the skin has no choice but to get better. So I would not worry about any danger when you're doing microcurrent. The only time that you really can't have microcurrent is if just a handful of cases. So that would be if you have any kind of machinery implanted. So if you have like an electrical device, a pacemaker, cochlear implant, something like that, then you would want to be careful about using microcurrent. The same thing if you have severe heart conditions, if you're currently pregnant, or if you're currently going through any kind of cancer treatment. For all of those things, I would just consult your doctor first. But with the exception of that short list, also people who are prone to epilepsy, but with the exception of that short list, everybody can have microcurrent, and there were really no dangers. Now, I see somebody asked, why are you using the gloves to do the microcurrent? It's because they make it easy and they make it fast. So the gloves are plugged right into my MyoLift mini device. The wires snap on. These are dampened, so the microcurrent runs through them, and then it makes it effortless for me to use my hands, get in there, feel the muscles, and just create as much lift as I want. So a lot of people like to do this move. I, in my own head, call it the claw, where you kind of put a hand back here, and then you take your fingers so that you can get that entire side of the face and just push up and hold. So this lets you cover a really nice large area of the face. If you are trying to do just a quick treatment on yourself, this is a nice way that you could spend maybe 10, 15 minutes and you can get a lot covered. The other thing that's cool about these gloves is that they have silver threads woven in them. The silver threads are helping to conduct the electricity, but another benefit that we get is that silver is antibacterial. So silver is going to help to kill any bad bacteria on the skin. If you're acne prone, then the silver in the gloves can actually help kill acne causing bacteria. Ooh. So I see a lift all throughout here. I don't know if you do, but the way that even the shadow of the eye is directed more upwards, and then in here, it's a little more sunken. There's a little more puffiness here, and then here we've reduced it. I mean, of course, I'm somebody with a round face. I'm not going to get that extreme chiseled look, but I definitely see the impact here. My mouth naturally is crooked, so this side tends to be higher. And right now they look pretty even, which is good for me. That's one of those situations where I will do extra on this side to kind of pick up the corner of the mouth that I know is a little lower. And then this side, I'll try to leave it alone a little bit. Can even go in there and lift that area directly, which is really nice. A lot of us have that slightly asymmetrical look to either the corners of the mouth or the brows, like I was saying. Someone said, can you do it on an overside of the cheek? So you can do this anywhere in the cheek area. So if I want to lift the apple of the cheek, I can go right in there and I can pick that up. If I want to create more definition back here, I can sort of walk my way back and I can continue to do that. And I can lift, lift, lift. Yeah, I think I look like I slept less on this side, and then here, I look like I slept for a couple extra hours. Just a little bit more open, a little bit more lifted. I'll do the other side off camera, so I won't subject you to all that, but just know that I have only done lifting on this side the entire time that I have been doing that. I did a little bit of smoothing on the other side, but we've only lifted here. So I'm going to do a little on the brow too, because that is a really cool thing to see. You're going to see this eyebrow sort of come up and sit higher again compared to the other one. And the gloves are great here because I can just use one little finger and I can be really precise. So I'm going to lift up that tail of the brow and I'm going to hold it there. And I'm going to repeat that. So if you just joined, this has a lot of benefits. Not only are we engaging the muscles of the face and we're strengthening them to create lift, we're also improving the health of the skin. Basically, microcurrent is giving energy to the skin cells. When the skin cells have more energy, they're able to make more collagen. Sorry, I'm just plugging in my camera. They're able to make more collagen, they're able to keep out infection, and they're able to create more collagen. So if the skin is healthier and more energized from microcurrent, we're going to get all of those anti-aging benefits that I think we look for in various other products. So microcurrent, not only is it for the muscles, it's also for the skin. If you do this long term, the lift that you get from these treatments, it does start to last longer. It starts to really set. And then you also will see that the tone and the texture of the skin, the hydration, the radiance, all of these things, sort of more about the complexion of the skin, will also improve. Microcurrent is one of those kind of cure all treatments where most of the time it is going to be helpful. And very rarely is there a reason not to do it. So you can see there's a little bit of a lift here. Let me smooth out those hairs. Now I could continue to work in here, and I can lift that brow using the fingers this way. I can go in there and use all the fingertips, and I can push up on that brow area. So that's going to come down to your comfort level and also just what makes sense for you. If you have different anatomy from me, maybe you have little tiny hands, or maybe you have more or less space around your brow, you might decide to shape your hand a different way. As long as both hands are contacting the skin, it really doesn't matter how. So you don't have to worry about that. Like if I have 4 fingers on this side and then I take 1 finger and I go like this, that's still working. It's focusing here on the head of the brow, but I'm still getting the benefits. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Okay, beautiful. So you could see a little lift here. I could have even spent more time lifting the brow. But since we focused on the jawline today and creating some of that lift here, I'm just going to do a couple more touches as we finish up. After a treatment like this, since we didn't apply any kind of conductor gel on the skin, you can actually just go in with whatever you like. So put on your favorite skincare. It's early in the day where I am, so it's 2 p.m. in here in New York City. Put on your sunscreen if you're anywhere close to me, and then you're good to go. So we used that today to tighten up the neck. We smoothed out wrinkles on the forehead and around the eyes and lips and plumped up the lips. And then around the jawline and on the outer part of the face, we did a lot of tightening. We tightened up around the brow. And I think you can see this side of my face, even the skin looks a little more even. So here it's more even, and then here it's a little more ruddy. My skin is sensitive, so I'm prone to redness like this. I told you the corners of my mouth are usually pretty uneven. And this one's a little lower, but it is looking more even than usual, I'll say. So I'm happy with the results of my treatment. I'm going to go do the other half of my face. But first, I'm just going to take a quick look to see if anybody asked any questions. Yeah, so somebody asked on what parts of the body can you do it? The answer to that is the face and neck. That's what we are FDA cleared for. Someone said, are you going to be at the skin show in New York City this weekend? And the answer is yes. I will be there personally at the 70 Wellness booth. So if you're going to IECSC, which is the International Beauty Convention for Estheticians coming to New York, then I will see you there. Somebody said, I often use it and I love it. How long do we carry the results? So the more often you do it, the longer the results last. You're going to get an increased benefit, just like working out regularly versus just going once. That's really the best answer I can give you. For someone who's doing like a one-off treatment, it's going to be at least like 72 hours, but it can vary depending on a lot of factors for different people. Okay, somebody said, I'm having a hard time with conductivity and getting a solid line on the conductivity meter. So for those of you who don't know, on the device, this black bar on the bottom, sorry, let me hold that up so you can see it. This black bar on the bottom, it shows you whether you're conducting at all times. So then you know that it is working, even if you don't feel the current. Excuse me. So if you're having trouble with conductivity, if you're using the gloves, then you can go in and you can use some of your mist, that infused conductive solution that I showed you earlier. Let me grab her again. So we have the little 2-ounce size, but we also have a bigger size that is 8 ounces. Always, you can apply that on the skin. If you're using the metal probes, you can also go in and you can apply more conductor gel, or you can mist the skin to re-wet it if the gel has kind of started drying down on you. So that's something to just pay attention to. If the gel is getting dry on the skin, then it's going to be harder for you to get that solid conductivity. Ooh, somebody said, wow, I had no idea how to work the chin. I love working on that area and smoothing out that mental crease, smoothing out any lumpiness or unevenness that people get in the muscle here called the mentalis. So if you have a lumpy chin or you have a fold here, microcurrent can help with that. And I personally attest to it. Okay, beautiful. Somebody said, how long will benefits last after 4 treatments? So if, let's say, you do 4 treatments, the best way to do microcurrent is in a series. So this person said on a 50-year-old, if you're 50 years old, the likelihood is you may have some signs of aging on the skin already. At that age, a lot of things happen, a lot of changes to the skin. So our skin becomes thinner, it becomes drier, and we also lose some muscle mass. Because of that, it can take longer for the microcurrent to really fully kick in. I would think of it as a weekly treatment, and then I would think about how many weeks you do. So if you can do a weekly treatment with the gloves where you're sitting down like me and you're doing the whole thing, that's great. I would try to do that for at least 8 weeks. So once a week for 8 weeks. And then after that, you can do it a little less frequently if you feel like you're happy with your results. But at least that. There's no point where you would ever really have to stop. If you want to do it weekly forever, honestly, I recommend that because it's just going to get better and better. As the skin continues trying to age, the best thing is for you to continue to repair it. People always ask with treatments, how long does it last? And the reality is, you get the treatment, you get the results from it, and you see those benefits, and then you continue to age afterwards. You resume aging. So in a way, every treatment, is subject to that. The best thing is something like this that's cumulative and ongoing. So I hope that answers your question. I would think of it weekly and kind of try to treat it like that. Somebody said, hello from California. Hello from New York City. It's actually beautiful here today. Somebody said, does it work with dental implants? If you have metal implants, so if it's just a piece of metal, like a filling, a screw, a bar, usually someone is fine getting microcurrent. They might feel a little tingly or a little uncomfortable in that area, in which case you can turn the intensity lower. But I wouldn't say there's any danger. Generally, it's fine for that person to get the treatment. And someone said, is the MyoLift good to maintain long term? Absolutely. So today I used the MyoLift Mini. Got her right here. This is the trusty device for a lot of home users, but also for a lot of professionals. So we have spas that bought this, let's say 10, 15 years ago. This is the first device we ever made. And some of them still use that exact same device. They're super happy with it. They've never felt the need to upgrade. So you may be that person. If it's ain't broke, don't fix it, and you continue to do your treatments. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Really, it's the consistency that's going to give you the most out of your work. If you're thinking about higher intensity devices, you want to be careful with that. So the Mini goes up to 400 microamps. Let me just raise her up so you can see. You can even raise your intensity by 1 microamp at a time. So this gives you full control. This goes up to 400 microamps. You don't want to go too high, because if you go too high and you start twitching all the muscles, that's not good for the skin. But you do have the option of looking into our professional devices. So this is really more for estheticians. We have a device called the 600 Plus. We also have a device called the MD. Those are only available to professionals, and those are higher than the 400 intensity. If you're somebody who's working at home, I wouldn't worry about that. You can do a lot of work with this mini, and you're not going to have a problem at any point. You could always think about supplementing your home treatments by doing some professional visits. I can tell you, I know for a fact that the Heyday Spa chain uses our 600 Plus, and they are present in a lot of different municipalities and cities. So if there's a Heyday near you, you could go in and try out the 600 if you get microcurrent with them. I know as well that Dr. Barbara Sturm and Joanna Vargas use the MD. So there are a lot of more high-end spas and med spas as well that use it. That's an option if you're somebody who's thinking about upgrading your home treatments. If you're an esthetician and you're licensed and you want more power, let's say you deal with an older clientele, you can absolutely go for a stronger device. Do I think you need it? No, but you will see the difference, especially if you work with that older clientele and you want to get those results a little faster. So, okay, somebody said, wondering for maintenance long term if the MyoLift will maintain or to go higher to 600 or 800. If somebody is coming in just once a month, or they're getting like an occasional treatment, the extra power is nice. You're going to get a more visible result if you're working at a higher intensity. The thing to consider maybe is that some people are sensitive to it, so you may not always be able to jump straight up anyway. That's really up to you. It also depends a lot on what your customers are used to paying for a service versus the cost of the device. If you get a more advanced device, then you can sort of command a higher price point. But you can only do that if, of course, your customers are going to be okay with that. So I would think about that too. Like if you get the MD, for example, that's a clinical device. That's going to put you in the same bracket as like luxury and med spas. So if you want to ask for a higher price point, I think you should. But you may run into trouble if your regular clientele is someone who's on a budget. So I would think about that too. Just kind of think about what fits for your business. You can do a great treatment with any of these devices, the 600, the mini, or the MD. You can always get a nice result out of it. The stronger devices are going to give you a little bit more dazzle, may get you there a little faster. So I'm not seeing any other questions. I just want to give that about 1 more minute. So hopefully, if you have any more questions, you can get those in now. If something comes up later, you can always send us an email at info@7ewellness.com. So that's info at the number 7ewellness.com. If you go to our website, same one, 7ewellness.com, you can also see our phone line where you can contact our customer support team. You can also get some free tutorials. We have a lot of education available that you can check out. Okay, so let me take my one last look. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. If you're interested in this set that I used, it is right now on promotional sale, like I mentioned. On our website, this is Trina's Favorites. We have a whole little landing page for that. And you can check out what she did to get her jowls nice and tight. So my name is Sam, and thanks again. Hope you have a great rest of your week.